What's up, everyone? It's your girl Rossie, and I'm back with a really awesome interview. You guys, I'm here interviewing a really good friend of mine. Gosh, we've known each other for some years now. He is the host of the popular and fast growing podcast, Movie Lovers Unite. I am a co host on that podcast, and I've been waiting to interview my dear friend, John DiGregorio, for some time. I wanted to know about what's behind his podcast, how did he get started, all those great questions. And I want you guys to get to know him a little bit better. So, without further ado, let's get into the show, guys. What's up, John?
Nothing much. How you doing, Rossie?
I'm doing really good. So, you guys, this is John DiGregorio. He is the host of Movie Lovers Unite. It's a movie podcast, movie, music, interviews. It encompasses everything. And I met John I think about 3 or 4 years ago, anyways.
We're
And
five now, if you think about it,
five,
because it's
five, yeah, I guess so. 5 years now. And he's just become a really good friend of mine. And to be honest with you guys, if it weren't for John, I wouldn't know anything about podcasting, what it was about. So he's like my mentor in this podcasting game. So without further ado, you guys, here's John DiGregorio. John, wow, you've
wow.
been doing this for some time.
Yes, I
Um,
have, and you're making me tear up. I'm just gonna be
oh my
honest.
gosh, stop it,
Thank you. That
stop
that
it.
means so much to me.
It's absolutely the truth. So, just a little bit of history, really quick, before we get to talking to John. Like I said, it's been about 5 years, and I was just an actress at the time, and John hit me up, and that was actually the first person that's ever interviewed me was John, and it was for Movie Lovers Unite podcast. And at the time, it was audio only. We weren't on YouTube yet, so I was really nervous, and it was really fun. And I just remember um, uh, him, like, making sure, like, it's okay, kind of, calm down, it's good, we're gonna have a good time. Super nervous, and it wasn't even on YouTube, guys, just audio. Anyways, after that, I was just coming back to do my top 10 favorites, and before you know it, I'd been on there so much that John was like, hey, how about being a co-host and producing the show sometime? So here we are today. John has really built up a fabulous podcast, you guys. I mean, John, how did you start, first of all?
Okay, so originally it started off as a Facebook page for Movie Lovers Unite, and here's the thing. This is the funny thing. Um, I started off as a Facebook page. Everybody didn't believe in it. I was actually working for another Facebook page. Um, it was actually a fantasy and sci-fi page, zombie page, stuff like that. And then, me and the admin didn't agree on certain things, so we
Yeah.
parted ways because he didn't believe in my project. He said that's a stupid idea. It's gonna fail. I'm like,
Oh.
well, guess what? I went on ahead and I did it anyways. So I ended up making Movie Lovers Unite because here's the thing. I got tired of the clickbait articles at that time because I remember
Yeah.
moviepilot.com. And I remember that moviepilot.com was supposed to be like the most legitimate website that you can go to for movie stuff. Then I
Right.
realized that they were full of crap. So I'm like, I don't want to follow this anymore. So I want to make something that was geared towards movies. I want to
Okay.
make funny memes. So that's what I was mostly geared towards was first doing memes and then also finding movie news articles and stuff like that and making sure they were 100% legit
Right.
before I actually do it. And sometimes I might get one article whenever I'm doing scoops because when you do scoops, sometimes it's hit or miss. And plus,
Okay.
Hollywood is always one of those things of it's one whenever it's one news article that says one thing, the next day it turns around and be something completely different
Okay.
and stuff. Because movie changes every single day. So
Absolutely. Right.
one idea might not work out one day, and then the next day, oh, we're gonna can it because we don't think it's a good idea.
Right.
But it started off as a just a Facebook page, and then from a
Yeah.
Facebook page, I had a couple of admins and stuff like that, and they wanted to do their own thing, so
Mhm.
they pretty much parted ways. And
Okay.
so, anyways, then after that, I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel. So it started off as a YouTube channel
Okay.
as well. And then YouTube changed their rules and regulations. And then in 2019, my friend D said, "Have you ever thought about doing a podcast?" I said, "Yeah, but how do I get started?" So that's when I downloaded the Anchor app and I became
That's right.
enthused and just decided to go all in on podcasting. And yeah,
So I know when we talked, I remember you saying like, you would go out to your car and you would sit and you had me laughing because you were talking about, you hear the crickets.
it's more of a
He-
relaxing movie review channel.
Very
Like a campfire
relaxing.
with me. Yeah.
Right. How was that for you? I mean, when you were doing it at that time, you know, did you know you'd be here right today, like from the car to like a full on show studio,
To be
all of
honest with To be honest with you, my goal was always to do film festivals. My goal was
okay.
always to interview actors, actresses,
Right.
and do movie reviews and also TV reviews as well.
Okay.
But to be in my car, and which is the most quietest place to actually do because it was noisy in my house with both my parents being there and stuff like that. So the car was actually my comfort zone to be able to do what I do. And also too, doing the first episode, I always tell people, think of it me as just talking to myself
Right.
and because I don't have an audience. So I said, just think of me just talking to myself and I'm just answering myself back. And so therefore you get to enjoy me talking to myself.
Right.
But doing it in my car, I have to say I would never do that again because of the fact that yeah, it's comfortable, but in during the winter time, in the fall time, but in humidity, 100-degree weather, doing
Right.
interviews in my car, I
Right.
mean, Rusty, I was actually sweating my butt off in 100-degree weather in the car doing interviews now and having 2 or 3 things of water, bottles of water with me to keep myself hydrated.
Damn, John. Damn. But growing up, so you're originally from Boston, right?
Yeah, from
And
East Boston,
you're
yeah.
Boston and then Mississippi. What brought you from Boston to Mississippi?
So, to be honest,
Did you start your podcast in Boston or was it in Mississippi?
it was always in Mississippi. It wasn't in
Okay.
Boston. Boy, if I
Okay.
did, it would've been cool. But I
Right.
w a matter of fact, I've actually almost called it the Wicked Piss Up Podcast at one time.
Oh, really? Why?
Because in Boston, it means wicked pizza. Wicked pizza means like wicked awesome.
Okay. Okay.
So I thought about making like the Wicked Pizza movie podcast. I'm like, I
Okay.
don't live in Boston, so there's no reason for me to do that, even though I
Okay.
represent Boston.
Right.
Even, but yeah, um, it's always been in Mississippi. It's always been in that area.
Okay.
But yeah, basically, I was born in Boston, raised down
Okay.
here
Okay.
with my aunt and uncle. My real parents were like unfit parents.
Okay. Wow.
And so therefore, that I've been here all my life.
Okay. I know that you originally wanted to be an actor, weren't you? Thinking about being an actor at some point. You also do a lot of writing, so it
Yep.
was screenwriting. Tell me a little bit about that from starting out as a young person wanted to get into acting and then happened to be get into podcasting, basically.
Okay. So I remember doing like ever since I was a kid, my aunt was like, "Oh, you're gonna be a movie critic." Yeah, I could see. I'm like, "Yeah, I live in Mississippi, by the way. There's no way in hell I'm gonna be able to do this."
Right.
And then all of a sudden YouTube happened, and then this happened. But then I was always wanting to be an actor. I was always enthused with film. I did a stage play in high school. I played 2 parts in high school
Nice.
for that. I also did set designing, which I found for me, I want to be out there acting. I'm not a
Okay.
behind the scenes person.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
and that's just me. I hated building the Charlie Brown set. I was like, I asked my teacher, "Can I please just go home?" Like,
Really?
yeah, like I did
Okay.
not want to. And I'm sitting there behind stage being bored out of my mind while other people are performing, and I'm like, What am I doing here?" And my
Right.
friend Tank is like, What's wrong?" I said, "I don't want to be here." I said this to my theater teacher. I said, "Look, Miss Maggie." She goes, "What?" I said, "Look, the set's built. Everybody's enjoying the set. I'm happy they are. Just let
Right.
me guess, you're not. No, I'm not. I'd rather have a root canal done than be doing this."
Wow.
She goes, "Well, thank you for your honesty." But
Right.
and it's not about me being a diva or anything like that. It's just
Okay.
like acting for me was being someone else, right,
Right.
and stuff like
Yep.
that.
Yep.
And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be larger than who I am and be
Right.
something or someone else. Me
Right.
being behind stage, I'm just me. And
Okay.
I found myself boring or sometimes. So I'm like, yeah, I'm bored. I don't want to do
Okay.
this. But then going into writing, I love writing screen, and even though that's kind of behind the scenes as well. But
Right.
in a
Yeah.
way, though, it's other people getting to experience my writing and who I am.
Right.
So therefore, I'm letting someone else light shine through me.
Right.
So that to me is a better way of actually letting other performers do stuff rather than me
Okay.
just build a movie set or a theater set,
Okay.
because I want people to have a gateway into who I am. I'd rather be
Did you go?
100% open. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'd rather be 100% open than 99% closed.
Okay.
That
I
makes
get
sense.
that. I totally understand that. I myself, I love the front of the stage, and then when I was able, got into theater and got to work the behind the scenes, I think I loved it because I loved art, and I was really artsy as well. But just to see what they do behind the scene, building sets and all, I think it kind of gives you that. It's not as stressful as being, on stage, although I love
True.
that as well. But I totally get where you're coming from. Did you watch a lot of movies growing up? Were you like that kid that just at the movie theaters had to see the newest
Blockbuster movie.
movie? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, let me tell you this story, okay?
Okay.
So every summer I would spend 2 months or 3 months in Boston on my summer vacation. My grandmother would actually knew the guy on Blockbuster. He
Hmm.
would go on ahead and have like a stack of movies already reserved for me. So I would fly in, grab my tapes. I was in heaven. Then I
Okay.
would also spend my summer in the movie theater. It didn't matter. I would actually spend all. A matter of fact, I think we spent one weekend
Yeah,
watching every movie in the theater.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun.
That's awesome. I know my older sister, she worked at the movie theater when she was, like 16 years old, and it was so exciting because one of the benefits she got was she got to watch whatever movie she wanted. She got free popcorn, and she was able to bring my sister and I with her to go watch movies on the weekends, of course, during the matinees when it was totally empty, and we'd sit and watch all the movies we wanted to watch, and that was really cool having a whole theater to yourself. So I totally get that feeling of there's something about being in the movie theater. But you brought up Blockbuster as well, and I
Yeah.
have to say, at the time, wasn't that special being able to, like, on a Friday night, you're with your family and going to Blockbuster and seeing all the movies that you can choose from and all the goodies and snacks.
Yes.
Wasn't that great at when you were that age?
Yeah, I really love just going there and just talking with the
Yes.
employees over
Yep.
movies and telling us what they recommend for
Yeah.
someone to rent. And I
Right.
hate the 5-star system, even on Redbox. I hate the 5-star system, even on Netflix. I
Okay.
wanna talk to a human being that actually
Okay.
experienced the same experience that I did or experienced
Right.
something different. I miss that interaction that you don't get
Okay.
with a 5-star rating, and
Yeah.
that, just the human interaction and just geeking out with just geeking out with someone that actually understands you and understands, cinema and understands
Right.
movies. That's what
Right.
I miss the most. The funny
Okay.
thing is I actually bought my first soundtrack at Blockbuster.
Did you really?
Yeah, I bought the Cable Guys CD.
Oh, hell
That's like
yeah.
That was, like, the first CD I actually owned, the first CD that I actually earned with the money that I got from my grandmother helping her
Okay.
with the trash. She gave me, like, 15 bucks. I already knew what I wanted. I went down to Blockbuster and I got myself the Cable Guy CD.
Now one thing I want to tell you guys about John, and if you're joining me right now, guys, I am the host of Rossie's Clubhouse. Rossie's Clubhouse is a Sacramento-based podcast, specialize and focus on all areas of entertainment. Whoever's in entertainment, I interview them. Okay, basically. But and then once a month I have someone from another state or Southern Cali to come join me. And so I'm talking to the host of Movie Lovers Unite, John DiGregorio. He's out of Mississippi, and he's the host of Movie Lovers Unite. I co-host that show. John, when you first started, you didn't have a co-host though. What made you decide I want someone else to join me on this path of where I'm going with my podcast? It
That's a
would be
good
a good
question.
idea to have a host.
I'm glad that you asked me that because here's the thing. I always knew I wanted a co-host, but it's about picking the right person to be a co-host.
Right.
'Cause there's a lot of stuff that's within the background of things whenever it comes down to doing a podcast with a co-host. We both share the same weight, the same problems with each other and stuff like that, and we talk with one another. Here's the thing with me doing the solo shows, I'm like, yeah, this is great, but it'd be fun to actually interact with somebody else
Okay.
and be able to have a conversation versus it just being, yeah, I can do a solo show. Yeah, I've done them before, but I just love that interaction between two people. That way you can geek out and have fun with certain scenes and also talk about maybe a movie that you didn't like and I might like and stuff
Right.
like that
Yeah.
too, and talk about what worked, what didn't work. And with just doing a show by yourself, it's like a one-noted type of thing for me because I don't get that interaction. So it's like, am I hitting the right audience for what I'm doing? Is in the
Okay.
back of my mind. Are people understand me fully?
Right.
Um,
And
uh,
so your first co-host, what was it? Was it two guys? Wasn't it? How was that for you? Because I know we've gone through a few
yeah,
hosts until we found exactly like what worked for Movie Lovers Unite. How
it
was
was
that? Go ahead, tell us about that.
Yeah, it was with Charlie, and at first it was working really well.
Okay.
And we had a good stride and stuff like that too. I mean, we and then of course with time things change, just like anything else. What made it work before, we need to change some things within the channel itself. And yeah, some people might say, hey, look, it's just a hobby. No, I look at it as like a business perspective, but I also look at it as a hosting and also management type of thing too.
Right.
Because this is my baby. This is my stuff that I've been growing since 2019.
Right.
So I'd like to take good care of it and preserve it and have the right people with me. And some people just didn't understand what made it work 2 or 3 years ago may not work now.
Right.
And the chemistry before didn't what that worked before what isn't working.
Right.
So when something isn't working, sometimes it's just like, okay, we need to part ways.
Right.
That's just it. And that's what happened. I mean, I also had another person that was like, well, how much are you gonna pay me? I'm like, I'm making zero out of $0. Well, we need a contract for what? Zero out of
Exactly.
$0.
Right.
When am I gonna pay you? I'll pay you in Lent because that's all I got. And so he had to go because all he was in it for was getting paid. And
Right.
at that time, I only had like the NBA store as a sponsor, and then they were here and then they were gone.
Yeah.
Same thing with Manscaped. I had Manscaped for a while, they were here
Yeah.
and they were gone.
Right.
But it's all about picking the right people, the right team.
Yeah.
And I feel like this with you and I, it's just that balance of,
Right.
and it just seemed right because
Right.
you understood me, I understood you. We have that chemistry back and forth. You have the same care and the preservance that you have for my channel, just as you do for your podcast as well.
Right.
So, that's one thing I have to say that I respect about you as my friend and also my co-host. You're my friend before my co-host. And that's one of the things that I always respected was like there's that balance of, yeah, we're friends, and then there's also the business side of stuff too.
Right.
And we share
Right.
each other's feelings on certain things and some views. And also maybe some guests that we might actually think, well, is this a good
Yeah.
person to actually have on? What do you think about this? What do you think about that?
Right.
And we always wind up checking in with each other. And
Right.
we're great friends on and off. And that's something I've been wanting that I didn't get with
Absolutely.
the other co-host because the other co-hosts and everything, we only talked whenever it was time for the show. And then after that, it was like bye bye,
Right.
and we didn't
Right.
really talk. So I'm glad that we actually had that back and forth
Me too.
during the time when I'm working, and I can actually have an ADHD moment and just talk to you about an idea that pops in my head. Because if I don't, it's just gonna go. It's gonna be woo out the
Right,
window by the time
right,
that I get off of work. But it's just
right.
great just to have you as my friend
Yeah.
and also my co-host.
I feel the same way, like I was telling you guys, before I met John, I was happy just to come on a show and sit with him, and I love movies too just as much as he loved movies, so it was a lot of fun. It was something to look forward to on Wednesday nights when I would come and join him on the show, and then to be a co-host was even more exciting, but it was very nervous because I remember, my first show, I was so used to sitting with John that I was kind of afraid to sit by myself because I didn't think I'd be able to sit by myself. And I remember you saying, at some point you got to just do this, you'll be fine. And so I do appreciate that, because, without you teaching me the ins and out of this, because it's not as easy as it seems to sit and just hold a show and talk, and interact with people and have people interact with you. Do you want to speak on that? Having do like your first interview that you got, being that you wanted to, get to that point where you weren't just doing movie reviews, you were interviewing. How was that first interview for you when you got from the point where you're doing the reviews by yourself and then, wow, I just got my first actor. What was
That
that
was
like?
just I'll be honest with you, it meant so much to me because it means that I was actually hitting the audience that I wanted.
Right.
It also meant that I hit that goal that I've been wanting after a year of doing it. So,
Yeah.
I remember eating now this is just I just wanted to share this with you.
Mhm.
I remember whenever I got the Netflix publicist,
Okay.
and I was just eating a roast beef sandwich. I was at work, and every single time I eat a roast beef sandwich, something always happens. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but I was eating a roast beef sandwich that day, and I'm looking through my junk mail because sometimes junk mail, some stuff you might actually get from some places might actually be legit. All of a
Right.
sudden, it's like, "Hi, we want you to do a movie reaction, a trailer
Wow.
reaction to a Martin Luther King movie that's going to be dropping on Martin Luther
Wow.
King's Day." It was actually a movie with Anthony Mackie in it, a sci-fi movie,
Okay. Okay.
and so I'm like, "Wait, what?" So then I kept her around as as a publicist,
Okay.
and she ended up moving on to something else. But the last interaction I remember her saying this to me. She goes, "Do you like short films?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love watching short films,"
Right.
and that's how I got involved with the Holly Shorts Film Festival. She
Okay.
got me in touch with Theo, got me in touch with those guys.
Right.
Without her, I would not be able to get the Coleman Domingo interview.
Wow.
I would not have been able to get, uh, the other interview that you and I did.
Yeah,
Uh,
Michael Oblowitz.
Michael Olowitz, but not only him, but also the That Smoke podcast.
Oh, gosh, Matt Barnes, of course.
Yeah.
Goodness, that
So
was
if it wasn't
huge.
if it was for her getting me in touch with Theo and getting me in
Right,
touch with the producers of the Holly Shores Film Festival, I would not have been able to get in touch with Coleman. I would not have gotten in touch
wow.
with any of those guys.
Right, right,
So it just means so much to me to see that happen. And
right,
I felt like my dream has come true
right.
because now I'm in a film festival, and I'm also now get this in 2020, I think, or I forgot, I think it might have been 2020. I was laying down like 12, maybe 20 short film reviews.
Wow,
I was
okay.
reviewing everything, Rossi. Like I was like going all the way into this thing. I'm like, this is my first film festival. I felt like I had to do it all. You know?
I get how is it hard to review a movie? Tell us about reviewing a movie and what it takes to like you it's not like just I watch something and oh I like this it's pretty in depth when you're really reviewing a movie. What steps do you take to prepare to review that movie before you sign on to YouTube and say, okay, tonight we're going to do this?
Okay, so first thing is first. Newer movies and stuff like that, I take notes, even with
Okay.
older movies.
Okay.
But I remember going in to see The Invisible Man.
Okay.
And that was like before the pandemic.
Right.
I remember putting down in my notes, and I'm also writing this in the theater. I said the waves moving back and forth on screen. I had everything in depth on how I do
Okay.
things on that. But for me, in order for a movie to work, the dialogue has to flow, the
Okay.
storytelling has to be good, it has to be believable, it also has to be something that you would rewatch yourself later on.
Okay.
And also, is it worth are people gonna be talking about this later on
Okay.
too? That's another thing. But
Right.
as far as doing, like, older movies like we do, like 90s, 2000s, stuff like that,
Yes.
now, now you're gonna laugh your ass off at me on this. I watched the movie twice.
Okay.
First time is for nostalgia
Okay.
because of the fact that we do a nostalgia rating.
Right.
Second time is stripping away the nostalgia. So, this is me enjoying a film, and then I'm like, "Okay, now I have to rewatch it." My wife's like, "What are you doing? You're rewatching the same movie again." I said, "I know. I'm doing my job." So 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 I'm taking notes on the same movie that I
Okay.
watched because of the fact that I do a nostalgia rating and I
Okay.
also do stripping away because it makes sense that way for me to
Okay.
do that. But it
Okay.
has to have everything, all the beats that I just mentioned, and also too,
Okay.
are people going to be talking about a certain movie or not? Is it still in the conversation
Right.
too? Because here's the thing: I remember when I was going to do Joker 2, Folia
Okay.
Doo. I
Oh
call it
my
Folia Doo.
gosh.
I call it
Yes.
Folia Doo instead of Folia Doo.
Mm.
But
Yeah. Pretty
I
bad.
remember I remember I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna do a Joker rewatch review for the first one,
Right.
and then I'll review Folia Doo Doo
Right.
with someone." And then I looked at the box office numbers, I
Yeah.
looked at people's reactions, I'm like, "No one's gonna be talking about this movie." No,
Okay.
I didn't even bother with it.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, I don't look at Rotten Tomatoes to make my decisions, but I look at the
Good.
audience score on Rotten Tomatoes because that's who represents us and
Right.
not the critic scores. I look at the
Right.
audience scores.
Okay.
When I see a split between the audience and the critics, I'm like, yeah, there's something going on. Then
Okay.
I also follow some friends of mine that also review movies too, and I'll ask them questions. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna do this. And then also
Okay.
too, the movie bombed. So it's not gonna be in that conversation. So therefore, I did not do Folia Doo Doo, and I didn't do Joker 1. So
What movie do you geek out over? Is there a particular type of movie that's your favorite genre that you just geek out over and you can't wait for that to be made?
okay, so I like any genre. I'll go with horror.
Okay.
I go with comedy.
Same
Um,
here. Same here.
let's see here. I think the last time was like a comic book based movie or something that I geeked out
Okay.
over, which was whenever I was making a whole entire fan theory of Spider-Man No Way Home, doing that whole
Okay.
entire fan theory thing and stuff.
Okay.
But my go-to movies are The Crow
Okay.
is my all-time favorite movie. Jaws is also my
Oh yeah.
all-time favorite movie.
Oh yeah.
Those are my two all-time, and then after that, I might actually throw in a couple of other stuff and of
Okay.
course, The Godfather,
Yes.
Goodfellas,
Yeah.
Casino, Scarface, Carlito's Way, stuff like that.
Okay. Okay. Um, Changing up with the podcast, I know you gotta, change with the times. What makes you say, "Okay, I wanna switch this up, I'm gonna do something different," especially when it's been working? Do you change what's been working, or do you keep it the same? How do you go about saying, "Okay, I need to switch up, this is not working," or, "It is working, but I wanna add something else to it?"
Okay, so first thing is
You know what
first.
I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah, I do, I got you. So, first thing, newer movies, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Right.
So, I'm like, I know the newer movies are not hitting. I also look through the analytics, and I see that my age range does not represent the movies that are of today.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I might have to change things up just a little bit. And if there's something within my anticipated movie list for a present day movie, I'll do it.
Right.
But that's whenever I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go with nostalgia. I'm gonna go with doing older movies. And all of a sudden, back in October of last year, it started
Mhm.
picking up. The views started happening.
Right.
TV shows and everything lands a little bit differently. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. It depends
Okay.
on what the if it's a weekly show and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Um, one episode might not land well for the other, so therefore the views might be a little off.
Okay.
Even though some people might want to know what I'm thinking or something like that.
Right. Right.
But also too, you also have to look at the context of what are people saying about this episode?
Okay.
Is it worth and that's also another thing too, is if it's not as if it's a week episode, no one's gonna actually watch an after show for 1 week episode.
Right.
So therefore, they might tune in with another one. That's why I like doing weekly shows,
Okay.
is because of the fact there's always a chance that there's an episode that somebody might like,
Right.
which is
Right.
why I did Dexter, which is also why I did why I'm doing Daredevil. But
Okay.
you also asked me a very good thing about how do I expand on an idea.
Yes.
So for the audio podcast, I started doing sound bites from the movies
Okay.
I review that we review. Like for older movies, I don't
Yeah.
know if you noticed this or not, but I put in stuff from when I did a Heat review. I did maybe 3 sound bites for that,
Okay.
and putting it in and doing that into my intro whenever I start talking about the movie.
Yep. Yep.
And even in the Cable Guy, I started doing that too. So
Right.
I added those little small things in, and people are actually liking it. I'm like,
Nice.
and then of course I have to make sure the volume is not too loud and too overbearing and stuff like
Right.
that. And I also wind up asking Brandy, I said, "How does this volume sound?" She goes, "I don't know anything about sound." I said, "Look, as someone that doesn't that listens to music, is
Right.
this too loud?" No. I'm like, "Okay, that's all I need." So
Right.
I get her to help me out with the sound and stuff like that sometimes too. I'm like, because I also do the intro music too
Right.
and stuff, and I make sure that it's not overbearing over the layers of you talking with your intro or me talking with my intro.
Right.
But that's when I decided to do it just recently. And then back in the day when I was just doing it for my car, I didn't know shit about editing an audio podcast. I
Okay.
would just
Okay.
just you know what I would do? And I don't know how I landed the Netflix publicist. I that was just pure luck. All I
Okay.
did was I just uploaded my shit and went about my business.
Right.
And no editing. Everything is raw and
No
uncut.
editing.
No editing. It just was out there in the ether because I didn't know anything I was doing.
Okay.
I heard all this stuff that other podcasters was doing saying editing. I was like, I don't have time for that. I don't know what you're talking about. It
Right.
wasn't until Will came on my show to do the Obi-Wan review.
Okay.
And he's like, "Hey, my co-host couldn't really hear me that well. Can you boost up the sound to where you can hear me?" I'm like, "Okay, people are listening." That also tells me that I need to put a little bit more care into my podcast and
Right.
do a little extra. And so I started editing, figuring out things, and I realized what dead air was. I realized what
Okay.
needs to be amplified, what doesn't need amplified, and learning how to condense some stuff down.
Right.
So that's whenever I was like, you know what? I just need to go in and take care of this. I care about it on YouTube, but I need to care about it on the audio just as much as the YouTube channel because here's the thing. Audio on YouTube is different from audio that you listen to.
Right.
So therefore, I have to try keep that same care. So
Right.
that's what happened. But before I was like, okay, I'm just gonna upload and that's it. It's out in the ether. Good luck.
Damn,
Yeah.
John. And, speaking of that, I mean, the fact that you did have to kinda you self-taught. This is self-taught type of
Yeah.
stuff where, like you said, started out in the car, was just not thinking it was gonna be this, wanting it to be that, but, not realizing that one day I'm gonna interview Matt Barnes and whatnot. But then knowing that, someone brought up to you about editing and then having to learn that, and then things change as far as online StreamYards and all that. How did you deal with that being when, Chat GPT, or I think whatever that's called, when that came out, which changed up the game, and a lot of other new CapCut, using those type of tools. How did that change for you? And was it obviously it helped, but tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about that because you're just doing this yourself.
I'm doing this myself, learning
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
Here's the thing with ChatGPT, I don't really use it unless I need it.
Okay.
And yes, I did use a thumbnail people for one
Right.
thing that I was going to use and just change it later on because
Right.
then I got crucified on my YouTube channel saying, "Oh, I don't want to watch that because of the fact I used AI." I'm like, it was only a temporary thing. I
Right.
wasn't gonna go ahead and you make that my thing. I was gonna put a regular thumbnail in later on,
Right.
but I'm like, okay, people don't like the AI thumbnails. I get it.
Okay.
So I did away with that part anyways.
Okay.
But I only use AI whenever I need to.
Right.
And it's like if I need an idea on how to write a description or something.
Okay.
and I'll readjust it to the way I need to readjust things. Other than that, though, I don't really use AI like other people do
Okay.
because other people is like obsessed with it. Me, on the
Oh,
other hand,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I use it as I go.
Okay.
That's just me. That's just how I do things.
Right.
Because I feel like if you use something for too long, it's gonna over it's gonna make you addicted to what you're using, and that's all you're gonna use, and it's gonna take over you.
Yeah, I
So
feel like it's you're more authentic. I think you're everything that you do seems to be more authentic, you know? Like you said, using the tools, you know, for a certain amount of time, but not depending on them like that. And as far as your thumbnails go, I mean, everyone, you know, if you watch Movie Lovers Unite or even Rossie's Clubhouse, John is responsible for making the shorts, you know, he makes the thumbnails, all of that. A lot of your thumbnails are very creative. How do
thank
you
you.
come up with the ideas for like some of the music guests that I have, you know, coming on Rossie's Clubhouse or even for MLU? Because John does direct, just to let you guys know, for Rossie's Clubhouse, he also produces that show. He helps direct that show and he's responsible for editing and thumbnails and shorts for both podcasts. So you're very creative.
Thank you.
Where does that come from? How do you decide, okay, this is going to work and this short's going to work to get you 55,000 views on your TikTok or whatnot?
Okay, so first thing about the shorts and stuff, because you asked me about that first.
Yes.
And the thing with the shorts and stuff, I didn't know anything about making shorts.
Okay.
Luke was the one who taught me about shorts and how to do certain things. But then I just then all of a sudden I just started using my own techniques and my own imagination on how a certain short would do. And then basically I just let that be its thing. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back and re-edit stuff. And also too, sometimes it may not be the video itself. It might actually be the fonts that you decide to
Okay.
use. Or
Wow.
it might be, yeah, because believe it or not, sometimes fonts actually go viral.
Really?
And yeah, it's crazy. So
Okay.
sometimes it might be the font that you use, or it might just not be the topic that anybody wants to talk about either.
Okay.
So that's also another thing too. You also have to say, okay, well, I made 5 edits with this one short. It's not hitting. Therefore, no one cares,
Okay.
sadly. So I have to go back and try and figure out what works for a certain
Okay.
thing, and I'll go on ahead and implement different things. And that's how I do that. And when I see your guest or whatever, and like for instance with the jacket
Yes.
shorts I made,
Right.
I'm like, wait, Corey and Topanga wore Corey's jacket,
Right.
and they always broke up.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I know what to do. My mind automatically went to Boy Meets World. And
Right.
I also knew I want to actually put that artist in place of that. And of course, you have to mute the sound and everything for
Right.
that, for the Korean Topanga scene. But I knew what I wanted done. And sometimes the most challenging thing for me, though, Rossi,
Mhm.
is when you have actors or actresses on, and I love a challenge because
Okay.
of the fact that I'm able to be a little bit more creative with it
Right.
because I'm like, okay, how can I change things up? What can I do differently? Sometimes it may not hit me, and I always call this my art. So sometimes I
Right.
might
Oh,
not.
yeah.
You know how sometimes I take maybe 2 or 3 days, and you don't hear
Yep.
nothing from me.
Yep.
It's because I'm stuck on that one short. I'm like, and I'm thinking in my mind, what can I do to make this better and make
Okay.
this flow better? So that's why you don't hear from me sometimes, and so that's how I do it. This is my art. So therefore I'm gonna care about the art that I'm doing and also caring about what you do. And so that's the ideas that I have flowing out of it.
Right.
And like I said, it has a lot to do with your captions. It has a lot to do with your hashtags. Sometimes putting way too many hashtags in there overcomplicates the algorithm too.
Okay. Okay.
That's why you might see me do like maybe 3, maybe 4 different hashtags so that way it doesn't overcomplicate it and therefore
Right.
it gets out to anything. As a matter of fact, what's surprising is on TikTok right now, I'm at 11,000 K views off of a before and after shots of the
Wow.
film The Outsiders,
Oh, wow.
which is crazy. I'm like
That's dope.
connecting on
That's awesome.
things. But yeah, it's just crazy on what works and what doesn't work and what
Right.
gets pushed out. And
Right. And timing, isn't it the timing of when you put the short up sometimes, and does that
sometimes
matter?
yes, Sometimes yes, sometimes no, because here's the thing. Some people think, oh, shorts are for the old subscribers. It's actually
Okay.
the opposite. It's actually for the new subscribers to come in to look and see what you're doing. And I see all these other creators just put a short down and don't have any kind of long form content linked to the short that they posted.
Right. Very true.
And I'm like, how do they know your identity? How do they know who you are without even any context into what you do?
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put my long form content into the short and have it linked that way, just as I do it with yours too. So that way
Right.
they know who I am, they know who you are and
Right.
stuff. And then I remember also too of the ranking systems 5 out of 10, 10 out of 10. You don't ever want a 10 out of 10. You always want like
Right.
below a 10.
Very true.
So, and that's also something else I self-taught myself was the ranking system and stuff like that, and
Right.
teaching myself that. And of course, the algorithm changes every year. So what may work this year may not work next year.
Right.
So that changes. But the thumbnail ideas. I know
Right.
you asked me about this, and then I'll let you. I'm sorry if I'm
Oh, go
taking
ahead.
a
No,
bit.
go ahead.
But no, as far as the thumbnails go, I think about different like the artists that you have. What would be good for that artist? Like when like for an R&B singer. I
Right.
grew up in the early 2000s style of R&B,
Yeah.
Usher.
Yes.
Uh,
Right.
I grew up around that time. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, Usher always sang in the rain. So I might actually implement putting an artist in the rain because it
Okay.
actually represents R&B for that time.
Right.
But his music might also capture the early 2000s vibe too. So therefore, I might actually put that in there because it does both. But I also come up with another thumbnails that's more modern as
Okay.
well.
Right.
So there's also that other one that I made where the guy's in the club and there's like neon lights, stuff like that, because his sunshades represents a club kind of setting. So I
Right.
go by clothing, I go by
Love
appearance, I do all this stuff in my head on what I think might work. And if you're giving me like a 90s vibe, that's what you're gonna get out of the thumbnail. You're gonna
Right.
get like a
Okay.
90s kind of style vibe with me when it comes down to your art to music artists and stuff like that,
Right.
or 2000s vibe. Like I said, I grew up on Usher, I grew up on Master P, I grew up on Tupac, Biggie.
Right. Right.
Um, I grew up on hip hop, rock, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 60s music. So yeah, all that is all integrated into me.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Who was your most favorite interview that you've done on Movie Lovers Unite?
My favorite one would be Coleman Domingo. Would be my
Tell me
favorite
about
one.
that. Tell me about that.
I remember just sweating my butt off and being nervous.
Yeah.
And Coleman's just like this chill dude
Yeah.
that has a sway about him. And I even said it. I said, if I was a woman, I'd be on top of you right now. That's what I told. But no, I said, but I made him laugh because I knew that joke would work in my head
Right.
as I'm going through this process of the interviews. I don't know if you do this, but at work,
Mhm.
I'm going through ideas in my head on what to
Oh
ask,
yeah. Oh yeah.
and I'm practicing it in my head, and I'm
Yeah.
just hoping I project it the way that I want to project it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I knew I would get a laugh with Coleman by saying that. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. Then after that, it just becomes a conversation piece
Right.
rather than a basic interview.
Right.
I just remember sweating my butt off. This was my first big interview. I remember Coleman from Fear the Walking Dead. I
Yeah.
remember him from Candyman. I remember
Yeah.
those small roles that he has, and now he's on an Academy Award. Not
Yes.
Academy Award, but he's a nominated actor,
Yes.
Oscar nominated. But Matt Barnes was also another one, Rossi. I was nervous
Yes.
for that one too. Like
Wow.
I almost forgot the poor guy's name at first. I'm like, because I was just nervous.
I remember you just looking at me and I'm looking at you and we just start the interview. But yeah, that was huge.
That was huge. But those were probably top tier interviews for me
Right.
as far as that goes. But I would never forget your interview.
What?
Oh, too.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I remember you saying you thought that I was gonna be like, you're an actor.
Yeah.
And what is your process like? You know what I'm saying? Like you thought I was
Right.
gonna be one of those critics, and
I
I'm just like
did.
the
I
total
did.
opposite.
I
But
did, I did. It was the most chill interview ever.
thank you.
Yes, absolutely chill. So what do you have planned? Where is Movie Lovers Unite going? Where do you want us to be? Where do you want to be with Movie Lovers Unite? Because congratulations on, your 1 millionth view of what last month was it
Of the
or
year,
early
like, that was, like,
of the
our
year. That's
total.
right. That's
That was
right.
our total.
Yes, that's right. So how is you hit that? Congratulations on that. But where do you want to see Movie Lovers Unite in the future?
I wanna see us doing this professionally.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, I love my job and stuff like that, but this is where I feel at home. This is where I feel like I belong.
Yeah.
And I would like to see us get more sponsors. I would like to see us grow even more. I would like to learn more as well,
Okay.
because just because I feel like I've done everything, I feel like I haven't. I'm always willing to learn, but that's where I feel like that professionally, I want to do this professionally. This is not just a hobby to me. This is my passion, my dream, my goals.
Right.
And I wanted to ask you something too, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So my thing is this. So you went from an actress to a podcaster.
Yes.
And my question was this, like, how was that transitioning into doing that? Like, what was your
It was, it was kinda difficult for me. I remember being really nervous. Um, I remember when I did my first review by myself, I think it was the Marilyn Monroe,
yeah,
movie. It could have been that, and, I just remember going really, really fast, trying to get through it, sweating, but because it was something new, and with me, with something new, I wanna know it, I wanna learn it right now, and I wanna be really good at it right now. With acting, I had more control of that. I knew what I was doing. I knew it was more comfort. But I do have to say, once I got to, getting used to doing the podcast and being on camera and talking, to folks, I loved it so much to where I decided that, I'm going to put acting on the back burner and this is what I'm going to focus on. Like, I'm always willing to go out and do an audition for something that means something to me or I really love that part and I want to go for it. But I try to stay with commercial work so that I'm always available to concentrate on podcasting and being better as a host. And like you said, learning more about what we do because there's always something more to learn and to get better at, interviewing and, take this to a professional level to where this is what we're able to do. So I love it. That's why I'm so thankful that you taught me, everything to where I'm at now. I mean, remember I couldn't even go into the studio by myself. I mean, it
I
it
remember.
was it was a learning curve. It is not easy to do this, and then to learn everything behind it. So, you've brought me a long way with this, and there's still so much for me to learn.
And I'm be glad to teach you anything I know and everything I know too.
You do. You definitely do. You really are, and you're
Um,
very patient, so I appreciate that.
you're very
You know
welcome.
how I am.
There's one other thing that popped in my head about something else that I would like us to do. I want us to
Mhm.
be in person to do the Holly Shores Film Festival
Right,
and to do other film festivals that are
right,
presented to us. Because
right.
we get opportunities and sometimes we have to shoot them down. But if only they would actually give us at least a month's notice or something,
Right.
that would be
Yeah,
something that I would like us to do. And I know that
I
we
would
can.
love that.
CinemaCon is expensive to go to.
Yeah.
Like it's like over 20K or 40K to go.
Oh, I know
It's
that,
around that.
let's see, we were invited to Holly Shorts. We were
Yep.
invited to, Comic-Con to do a set there. But remember, it's like they let you know a week before, a week before the Holly Shorts. But I would definitely, that's an absolute goal for us to, be in person and to do those things.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, John, tell us what you have coming up for the next week on Movie Lovers Unite. Let us know your schedule, please.
Okay, so guys, I do have a couple of things that I on the burner right now. I got the Daredevil reviews that I'm doing on Thursday with Don and Christopher. And I'm gonna be doing that every Thursday until the final episode for Daredevil. So that's gonna be on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for that. I am gonna be moving, so the schedule's kind of jumbled up here and there in spots. But I am hoping to at least do at least one movie review in April or maybe two. I am planning on doing a Constantine review next month as well with Keanu Reeves, not with the actor, but with Bob. Um, so I am planning on doing that, but I am doing Superman reviews, like with the Christopher Reeves rewatch reviews for Superman,
Nice.
the new Superman movie. That's going to be on uh, the 7th, the 11th, and 14th, and the 18th. Those are going to be for all four movies. All of them are going to be at 8 o'clock Central Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. I'll have the thumbnails. As a matter of fact, I already have the thumbnails already done. I just got to go and have put in the descriptions and all that stuff, and I'll have that schedule rolled out. But we're going to do CinemaCon news. Rossie and I are going to be covering that. We're also going to be doing movie news. Hopefully, maybe we might actually make it a weekly thing. I don't know yet, just depending on
Yeah.
how good the movie news is. Because today the movie news was dry.
Right.
So other than the fact that it was not so Snow White was bombed at the box office.
Not
So
surprised.
me either. But yeah,
Not surprised. Yeah. We must talk about that. See, that's one we should talk about.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
definitely
definitely
got to
agree with
talk
you on
about
that.
that. Yeah.
But yeah, that's everything I got going on though.
Well, guys, this is John DiGregorio. He is the host of Movie Lovers Unite. Movie Lovers Unite is a podcast as well as a YouTube channel. You can listen to us on all major podcast platforms, and the links will be in the description of the video, guys. Just to let you know what's coming up on Rossie's Clubhouse. Let's see, on the 24th, well, today's the 24th. I have John DiGregorio with me today. So he's already here, guys.
Yep.
But let's see. On April 2nd, I have a really special artist that's going to come in. I want to keep him a surprise, but he's going to be coming up. We still have the Payday 916 interview that is going to drop. You guys will get that. On April 7th, we're going to have Trust here. And you guys, Trust is a young man that sits with me on a video game podcast on Rossie Talks. A segment that is a spinoff segment from Movie Lovers Unite. Trust is going to be with me. He's a pro gamer, just getting back into it and has come a long way. He's killing it right now. You guys will see on the 26th. I'll be right back here on Movie Lovers Unite, Rossie Talks, for our video game segment. And I have Kayla AK that's going to join me April 16th. She is absolutely just amazing artist, hip hop artist. I can't wait for you to meet her. I can't wait to meet her. Okay. Too Fine and Divine. Also on April 21st, Lance Laswell will be here with me, and I am absolutely excited to meet this man. Okay. This talented man. I've been following him for some time and have heard about him. So I can't wait to bring him to you guys. And we have many more. All right, guys. So thank you for joining me. Be good to each other. And John, thank you so much for coming on Rossie's Clubhouse. I'm so happy that you decided to come on the show. I cannot wait to interview my really good friend. And you guys will. John has so much more planned for MLU. So we're out, guys. Thank you.